This is a Professional Edge. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, certified financial planner, host here on the Professional Edge. And what we are talking about, staying on wealth alignment on the estate planning side of the house. Being a tax attorney, completing over 3,000 estate plans, I've seen a lot and I've seen a lot of mistakes. And let's try and avoid those mistakes and get your estate plan in alignment. So, here's one of the other things that we look at. Being a tax attorney, CPA, certified financial planner, how is your wealth aligned? And when we say that, okay, what is your estate planning doing? Well, it's going to be left to my surviving spouse, and then we're going to leave it down to our kids. Okay, so that sounds pretty simple. You can do that with a last will and testament, or you can do that with a trust. But where are we aligning things for that next generation? And what I say by that is, are we aligning so we are not going to disinherit our children? And you say, hold on, wait a minute. If last will and testament says I give everything to my surviving spouse, and then if she's not available, then we're going to give it to our kids in equal shares. Perfect. But we got to remember there's 2 deaths in an estate plan. So husband passes away first. Sorry, guys. If you're driving, don't do this, but close your eyes. You just passed away. Now your stuff is going to go to your surviving spouse. Okay. Just sort of see everything go into her name, and she's there managing the house, the portfolio, the bank accounts, the cars. It's all hers. Well, if she's taking care of herself, then she is probably a prime, attractive young lady to an older gentleman. Could be in his 70s. You pass away when you're 65, he's 70, your spouse is 65. She's a catch. So, lo and behold, she starts dating, falls in love with Romeo, and they get married. And guess what? They're going to do an estate plan. And they go down, or, they're pretty thrifty, so they get on LegalZoom. Simple thing that we can do is an I love you will. Well, I love you. You're my spouse. I'm going to give you everything that I have, and then we'll divide it equally among each side of the kids. Okay, sounds great. So she passes away. Okay, who's got the property now? Romeo. Romeo has all your stuff. Now you can open the eyes and see who Romeo is. Look at your spouse. So when you think about that, there is no alignment on wealth. What you are aligning to protect your kids from being disinherited. Because Romeo has 0 legal obligation to leave anything to your kids. The family that has sacrificed to accumulate these assets for that wealth, who's accumulated that wealth, it's not an alignment. It is now in Romeo's hands, and Romeo has 0 legal responsibility to leave that to your children. Romeo can leave everything to his kids. So you just disinherited your own kids. Not by chance, just you didn't have things in alignment. So let's fix it. It's real simple when you know the tool to align your estate planning with your wealth. So basically, we're going to allow things to go in trust for your surviving spouse. And it goes both ways, husband to wife. So the assets go to the surviving spouse in trust. And if she should ever get remarried, then she is not allowed to control those assets that you passed away with. Those still remain in trust. She could sign an I love you will with Romeo, but those trust assets that you left your surviving spouse, when she passes away, guaranteed by operation of law, they do not go to Romeo, but they are divided equally between your 2 kids. It's that simple. Your estate planning is aligned with your wealth. That's called wealth alignment. You have no chance of disinheriting your kids with your share. Now, your surviving spouse can always leave that to Romeo, her share. That's her own decision. But your decision is, I don't want to have my children disinherited with what I have. Simple. Leave it to your spouse in trust. She has no control for the ultimate distribution of those assets upon her passing, because you control the distribution of those after she has passed away. So, A, does it protect the surviving spouse? The answer is yes. Does it protect your kids? The answer is yes. So that is wealth alignment. If you don't have that in force and in effect, and you're leaving just everything to your surviving spouse, just open, free of trust, got a huge potential of disinheriting your kids. Give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798, to set it up to where your kids are not going to be disinherited. Next thing on aligning your estate planning so you don't disinherit your kids. Your largest financial asset, 90% of our listeners here on the Professional Edge, your largest financial asset is your 401k, 403b, or you have rolled that into a self-directed IRA called $1 million. Perfect. Now, you know the control of that distribution is controlled by the beneficiary designation. Doesn't have anything to do with your estate planning documents. So your last will and testament can say, I leave everything to my surviving spouse. But on your IRA beneficiary line, you can say, I give my surviving spouse 70% and my kids 15% each. Total 100%. Got it. So she walks into the attorney's office and says, well, I should be getting the $1 million IRA. The attorney says, well, yeah, the last will and testament says everything to you. And then he says, probably need to take a look at the beneficiary designation on the IRA. So we need to call the custodian of that and find out who that is. And it's 70% mom, 15% to each kid. Guess what? Mom's only going to get 70% of the IRA, because there are certain things that supersede whatever your estate planning document says, and that is the beneficiary designation on the qualified account. So, wife is sort of upset and mad. Guess what? She can do a spousal rollover. She's got the $700,000 in her account. Well, if she meets Romeo and we go to Romeo's stockbroker and the stockbroker says, okay, I'm going to open up that IRA. Your new wife's account's coming in. Primary beneficiary is going to be Romeo. Contingent beneficiary, we got 4 kids, 2 on Romeo's side, 2 on the wife's side. We'll put them as quarter beneficiaries. We're all good and all done. Perfect. Great. Have a nice day. Now, what happens when wife passes away? Well, primary beneficiary is Romeo. Guess what? Romeo gets the million. Well, now it's down to $700,000. Rolls it over to Romeo's name. Romeo says, you know what? I really don't like the wife's kids. They've been sort of mean to me. He updates the beneficiary designation on his IRA and says, my 2 kids are getting 50-50. Well, guess what? Romeo passes. The kids of that first marriage, they come knocking at the attorney's door and say, well, dad's intention was to leave it to mom, and after mom got done, we were supposed to inherit it. Dad worked for 30 years and had about $1 million in that account. We got $150,000 when dad died, and the 70% that mom kept, that was supposed to go to us after Romeo passed. Well, guess what? You ain't getting anything, because Romeo had the complete ownership and control of that IRA, and now Romeo can update the primary beneficiary, and the kids don't have any legal standing to claim that 70% that mom inherited. Well, Romeo just disinherited your kids. Wow, that's not wealth alignment. That's wealth. It doesn't matter what the rate of return on your IRA is going to be. Your stockbroker could be getting 20% annualized returns. Guess what? If you don't do it right at the very end, it's irrelevant what the rate of return is on that IRA, because you just blew it. You just disinherited your kids because your wealth was not in alignment. So if that's not a wake-up call to get everything in alignment, wealth alignment 101, give our office a call, 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. Now, some of our listeners here on the Professional Edge have listened and listened and listened, and they're on the cheap. They don't want to pay for counsel and advice. Well, I mean, the ultimate payment is you disinherited your kids and Romeo has your $1 million IRA. Wow, how frugal was that? How smart was that? You just didn't want to get things in alignment. So you run the chance of disinheriting your kids. And I will tell you, if you check your beneficiary designation on your IRA or your 401k and it's your spouse, then you run the chance of disinheriting your kids based on that. And you say, wait a minute, I got a contingent beneficiary on my IRA account. Well, the contingent beneficiary is irrelevant if there is a primary beneficiary. So your spouse can take that, roll that over into their name. Based on our example, that $700,000 goes into wife's name. And if wife gets remarried, guess who the primary beneficiary can be? Romeo. Romeo gets the account if wife passes. Now Romeo can leave it to his kids, has nothing to do with your kids. So think about that. Your planning, your estate planning, your broker, stockbroker, or your 1-800 firm is not going to give you legal counsel and advice on who the primary and contingent beneficiary should be on your IRA or your 401k. They're going to say that you need to call your lawyer to get estate planning advice. Well, lawyer doesn't really walk through. He's like, yeah, just name your spouse and your kid's contingent beneficiary. Have a nice day, real quick, blink of the eye. Okay. You just run the chance of disinheriting your kids. That right there is enough to pick up the telephone call and give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. If everything is in alignment, the family that earned the money should be sure that it's going to go down to that next generation, not by chance, but by certainty. Thanks for listening to the Professional Edge on Wealth Alignment on Estate Planning Concentration. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner, host here on the Professional Edge. I appreciate your time and tune in.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Sean Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with Sean, call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Sean Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Sean is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Sean Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial security. You can reach Estate Management Counselors and speak with Sean Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.